Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another beginner's video. Now this one is for all the beginners out there because I guarantee the things I'm going to show you in a minute, you have gone through experience, you've scratched your head, you've banged your head against the wall, threw the airbrush across the room because you don't know what to do. Now it's your airbrush has stopped spraying, you've got problems with it. You could have a sticky trigger, you've got bubbling back, you're pressing down on the trigger and paint's instantly coming out. So I'm going to take you through these scenarios and show you how to fix the problems. Now the first thing that I recommend that a beginner does before they go ahead and plug in their 200 litre compressor, they put the paint in the brush and they're eager to blast a load of paint and start painting everything, is learn how to strip your airbrush down. Before you put any paint in it or link it to a compressor, sit in front of a table, strip the brush down, have a look at how the pieces go back together, so when you come across these problems that I'm going to show you in a minute, you'll know exactly what to do. It'll make your life a lot easier if you know how to strip your brush down. Now, I'm going to recommend a brush for a beginner, and it is a H&S. Now, the reason why I'm recommending a H&S to a beginner, because these brushes, to me, are idiot proof. They really are. They are the easiest brushes to strip down and put back together. And they're the easiest ones if you've got a problem. They're just easy to fix. So H&S on a 0.2, 0.3, Solo Evolution, ones like that, brilliant brush, you'll get on with them fine. Spares are brilliant, you won't have any dramas. So that's why I'm doing the H&S in this demo, because they're just easy to strip down and put back together. Now if you've not seen a H&S being stripped down, I'll show you the easiest way to do it. As I say, idiot proof. If you want to take the cup off, you can just unscrew the cup. That takes the cup off. You can slide the crown cap with the two prongs off the front. Then you can just undo the front end and the nozzle comes straight out. It's floating nozzle, so that's that bit. You undo the rear body, undo the chuck, slide the needle out, take the back off, so you unscrew that bit, pull the trigger out, and that's your H&S stripped down. Easy. There's a video on the channel where I put a H&S together blindfolded. That's what I mean by it's so easy to do and get on with. So putting it back together, you can get your nozzle. You slide your nozzle into the front part of the cap there, so that just sits in like that. Screw that onto the body. Just nip that up, don't over tighten it, you don't need to get pliers, just nip it like that. You can then get the back part of the body, screw that on, pull that out with the chuck and pinch and hold. Get your trigger, locate your trigger in, and then you let the spring go on that and the bar goes through the base of the trigger, so that's the trigger in. You can then get your needle, slide your needle all the way to the front. Don't over push the needles on these to the front, just literally slide it to the front, little bit of tension on your finger, get your thumb and your other finger and just nip the chuck up, so that's your needle in. Drop your rear body on like that, screw your cup back on, like that, and then you can put your prong cap back on and that's your brush back together. That's why I say a brilliant brush for a beginner. You've not got to get any little spanners out trying to take off the tiny little 2mm nozzle off and then you drop it on the carpet and it's gone forever. They're just easy to get on with. So scenarios, if your brush starts doing weird and wonderful things to you when you start painting. Now, if you experience, you've been painting for a while, say an hour, 2 hours, and then you go up to your panel and you press the trigger And when you press the trigger and go up close, you can see paint coming straight out without pulling back on the trigger. Now what that can be is, I'll just show you the scenario. That can be, so you're getting this. I'll put it to the paper so you can see. You press down on the trigger and you're instantly getting paint out. It's like gone to a single action airbrush. You're going, oh my God, what do I do? It's putting paint out. I'm not pulling back on the trigger. Now what that is, take the back of the body off, undo your needle and just relocate your needle to the front, nip it up, tighten the back up, and that's sorted that problem straight out. You've got no paint coming out. Now another thing that can cause that as well is the nozzle that I just showed you where you take the front end off. The nozzle can have a build-up of paint near the inside. So when you push your needle in, the needle is locating to the built-up paint inside the nozzle. That can cause that problem as well. So just take your nozzle off. I'll quickly show you. You've got your floating nozzle that sits in the actual front part of the body there. Clean that nozzle out with a dental stick. Put a bit of cleaner on that. They go inside the nozzles, twist it around a few times, put some cleaner in. I usually hold them up to the light, blow through and then look through and you'll see it nice and clean. Drop your nozzle back in, locate that back on, tighten it up and you're good to go. So that's what sorts that problem out. Another problem is when you get this, when you've been painting for a while, you've been fiddling with your brush as you do, and then you start to go up to your piece of artwork and it starts to do this. It starts to bubble back, there's paint going everywhere, it's all going to be your carpet. Your missus or your mum's going absolutely nuts at you because you've got acrylic paint all over the carpet. Now that is caused by either a dirty seal between the nozzle and the body inside. You've got the little Teflon white washer that sits on these nozzles inside. That can be dirty between there and the body and it's not making a tight seal. So just clean inside there or nip the front of this up, not with pliers, just nip it up with your hand and that's cured that problem straight away. So you've not got no bubbling back. The next scenario that you're going to come across is you'll come in the next day, pick your airbrush up, you'll press the trigger down and the trigger goes down and then it takes ages to come up and it's sticking. You've got a sticky trigger. Now what causes that? Where your needle goes all the way through this airbrush and it goes down through the nozzle and you get a little bit sticking out the front. So that needle goes through a hole all the way through the airbrush there. And where your trigger is here, the needle goes through that centre of the trigger all the way to the front of the airbrush. Now if you put your airbrush in your airbrush hanger and it's like this, sitting overnight with paint in it, that paint will run on the back of the needle and it runs down into where the trigger is. So you've got a build-up of paint inside here. That dries over time and it starts to stick. You do that and your trigger goes down and it slowly comes up. Now what's causing that is inside here where the air comes in the brush, there's a little valve pin that moves up and down. So when you do this, when you press down on the trigger, it's pushing the valve down and letting the air through. So what that's doing is when it's got paint on it, you press it down and that pin's coming up really slowly because it's got paint around it. So take the back of your body off, take your needle out, pull back, take your trigger off, take the back of the brush off so you can see the brush like that. And then inside there, when you look down inside that body there, you will see the top of that pin. You can just see like a little brass pin sticking up. Get a cotton bud with some mild airbrush cleaner. Don't use thinners because these are like a rubber seal in here. So get a cotton bud with some mild airbrush cleaner or some soapy water. Put the cotton bud down into the body on top of that pin and just spin and turn it like that. This is what I mean by the release on the pin. You can hear that when you push down with the cotton bud, you'll hear the air coming through. So it's that pin that's sticking. So push down a few times, clean it. If it's still a bit sticky, get some of the Iwata Super Lube, or you can get the Badger needle juice, and just do one droplet on the end of the cotton bud, push it in, press down, twist, give it a good clean, and that will lubricate that pin, and that pin will start to bounce back up. Then you can put the body back on like that. Pull back, locate your trigger back in like that, and that's bouncing up nice. I had this trouble with this, I had a sticky trigger on this one, so that sorted that. Get your needle again, slide to the front, don't press too hard when you bring it to the front, just one finger on the back like that, thumb, other finger, keep the tension and just nip that chuck up like that. Have a test with some water and your airbrush is good to go again. You can put the body back on the back. So this is why I say H&S brushes for beginners. I started out, sort of my main brushes were H&S from the start, so I know the ins and outs of these and how to strip them down. As you've just seen, they're just really easy to get on with, and they're good brushes, guys. This brush here is the new version for me. It's the rainbow edition I've had coloured, but this is like 13 to 14 years old and it still performs brilliantly. So there's some little scenarios that you are going to come across as a beginner. Recommended H&S for a beginner on a 0.2. Brilliant to start off with, brilliant for detail, comfortable brush, good on parts. You won't have any dramas taking it apart, putting it back together. And I definitely advise, for a beginner, strip your brush down when you get it out of the box, when you first get your new brush, whether it be a £20 Amazon brush or it's a £200 brush. Just learn how to strip it down and put it back together. So then little scenarios that we've just gone through there, you'll know exactly what's what and what, right, it's bubbling back, know what to do. Oh, it's leaking paint out the front, I'll nip that up, tighten that up. It just covers you up for all the scenarios. So I hope it helps, guys. Enjoy your airbrushing and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.